Week 7 in MLS, and a full complement of 11 fixtures produce yet another pulsating round. As always, we have all the drama. And we begin our review in Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta United and New York City cannot stop scoring.
Ain't that a peach? Shoots, scores! What a strike!
They met at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Stuart Robson and Phil Blacker are your commentators.
Berger going for the spectacular and calling Guzan into action. Had to turn that over the top.
Good play from Berger down that left-hand side. He loves to come in on his right foot.
Now Almiron. Looking for Martinez again. It might break back for Miguel Almiron. It does. Gressel in support as well. Almiron's going to take it on. Johnson with a save. Garza's there to follow up. And Atlanta lead. Greg Garza with the final touch. But it's the home side that strike first in this battle of the top two.
Could Johnson do better? He probably could do, and push it that little bit wider. There's a question mark about whether he was offside or not, but I think he is onside.
New York City FC with David Villa into the action earlier than anticipated. An impact he's had, and there's space here for Berger to stride forward. Still Joe Berger goes down, and the referee points to the spot. Berger was in full flight, Parkhurst caught him, and this will be the chance for New York City FC to level it up. David Villa waits over it. Chance to level it up. David Villa beats Guzan just. Instant impact off the bench, straight onto the score sheet from the spot, and New York City are level.
Guzan chose the right way, and he should have saved it in the end.
Long ball will fall into the path of Joseph Martinez. And still Martinez wants to engineer a side of goal for himself. But he does have support arriving now. This is Gressel, cuts it back. Darlington Nagbe to strike it! Perfectly into the corner.
There could be question marks. Martinez is right in front of the goalkeeper here. He switches the play out to the right-hand side. It's a good cutback. Look at Martinez's position. He actually bumps into Johnson.
Can only be the reason why they will look at it again here. He's disallowed it. And to have a free kick again in a promising position. Again, Kratz and Almiron, the two that stand over it. Almiron to take it in towards Martinez. Veer should be able to get it away, and does. And as far as Parkhurst, though, this time Veer's missed it. Miguel Almiron, 4 to try and pick out. In the middle, it's perfectly placed. Chris McCann is the one on the end of it.
Very good header. Down, low and hard. Past Johnson, who had to be at his near post. Was never going to get there.
Now, big moment here. It's what the home fans have been waiting for. Ezekiel Barco was signed with big expectations for big money. Picked up a quad injury in pre-season, which has left him on the sidelines until now, and Atlanta anticipates. David Veer's onside here, taking on Parkhurst. Still with David Veer. Parkhurst managed to stay goal side of him in the air. David Veer hasn't given up on it yet, though. Numbered about 3-1, which means there's space for Ring to have a hit. Oh, and what a hit! Stunning strike. And New York City are back on terms for the second time in the game. That is some way to open his MLS account. Guzan beaten from distance, beaten by the power. Full time at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Atlanta United 2, New York City 2.
Between them, the New England Revolution and FC Dallas had only lost once in 9 league games before their meeting in Foxborough. Since the Revs' opening weekend defeat at Philadelphia, they'd won 3 and drawn 1 of their subsequent 4 games. Goalkeeper Matt Turner, in what is his debut season in MLS, has played his part in that, as he did here in denying Christian Coleman an early opening goal for the visitors. Jimmy Mara is also in his debut league season and showed why he's been an ever-present between the posts for Dallas when keeping out Teal Bunbury. Late in the first half, Turner was called upon again. His awareness and positioning key to thwarting Roland Lamar. But with 14 minutes to go, the Revs keeper was not afforded any protection by his defenders as Jacori Hayes pounced to score his first MLS goal and give Oscar Pereira's side the advantage. One they held on to maintain their unbeaten start to the new season.
A home game in Annapolis, Maryland for DC United with their new ground under construction, and they could hardly have settled in quicker at the Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. A fabulous start against Columbus Crew SC provided by Ulysses Segura. His first MLS goal in the very first minute for the team that had taken just 2 points from their opening 5 fixtures. But Crew SC very nearly ended the half on level terms. That Pedro Santos free kick underlined there was a long way to go before Ben Olsen's side would be able to celebrate their first victory of the season. The task became even harder after Paul Arriola lost the ball to Arthur and lunged into a desperate tackle. At first sight it didn't look too serious, a yellow card for the challenge, but following the video review, DC discovered they'd need to protect their lead with 10 men for the majority of the second half, the caution upgraded to a straight red. Time for one of Crew SC's former players to make himself the star of the show. Goalkeeper Steve Clark was determined not to let these points slip. An agile stop denied Santos, and among several saves there was even better to come. On his 32nd birthday, Clark proved his reflexes remain as sharp as ever. Milton Valenzuela's cross set up Jarcy Zardes, only for Clark and the post to come to DC United's rescue. A huge boost for them ahead of a run of away games that takes them all the way through to mid-July when they move into Audi Field.
Those of a Philadelphia persuasion offered a cheerful welcome to Orlando in another All-Eastern Conference matchup. The Union weren't prepared to extend their welcome beyond that as Jack Elliott intercepted Stefano Pino's shot on goal after only 9 minutes. The Union's David Akam had scored 6 goals in 7 MLS appearances against Orlando. Joe Bendick kept him from adding to that tally. Sasha Kleshchen's arrival from the New York Red Bulls in the off-season has been a huge boost to Orlando, and he showed vision and precision in setting up Dom Dwyer for the opening goal shortly before half-time. 7 minutes later, Chris Mueller scythed his way through the Philadelphia defence to make it 2-0. It was his second goal in as many games. Fafa Pico scored twice in the Union's 6-1 mauling of the Lions in the corresponding fixture last season. He found Bendick hard to bypass here as he tried to get Philadelphia back into the game. And when neither CJ Sapong nor Jay Simpson could convert from in front of goal, the writing was on the wall for Jim Curtin's side, who've now gone 4 games without a win.
The New York Red Bulls needed a lift after losing out in the CONCACAF Champions League semi-finals just 4 days earlier. Who better to lead the backlash against the Montreal Impact than the ever-reliable Bradley Wright Phillips? Clean through inside 5 minutes, there could only be one outcome. His 4th league goal of the season had the home crowd in full voice, with the team on course to make it 9 points from 9 so far on their own patch. The Impact in danger of being swept away. Evan Bush's save prevented an own goal, but when Daniel Royer pounced on the rebound, the keeper required some help from Chris Duval. The Canadians needed something special to provide a spark. 20-year-old Jason Vargas obliged, a rising star with 3 MLS goals already since joining in January. Defensively, though, the Impact continued to look less than impressive. A mistake releasing Wright Phillips, with Royer bursting through the centre. In front of goal, it clearly wasn't going to be the Austrians' day. In the second half, more of the same, with some wide open spaces to exploit. This time Wright Phillips found his progress impeded by Bush, but there was no stopping Kaku. The Argentinian on the scoresheet in MLS for the first time. There were few signs the Impact could overturn that lead, and their fate was sealed as the action moved into the final quarter of an hour. Kemar Lawrence teeing up Michael Murillo to ensure there was no Champions League hangover for the Red Bulls. back-to-back defeats for Montreal, who went down 4-0 at New England in their previous game.
In contrast to the Red Bulls, Toronto FC did make it through to the Champions League final. And with the first leg of that showpiece on the horizon, TFC coach Greg Vanney made no fewer than 10 changes for the trip to Colorado. 77 seconds was all it took for Jack Price to make him wonder whether that was a wise decision. The Englishman was rather chuffed with his first MLS goal. Vanney's sweeping personnel changes gave opportunities to players like Jordan Hamilton, who was making his first MLS appearance since late September. The woodwork stopped him making it a goal-scoring return. With 4 goals in 4 MLS games, Dominic Badgie was looking to build on his prolific start to the season. His relentless running certainly helped carve out the opportunities, even if, for one reason or another, he couldn't capitalise on them. In this instance, Clint Irwin was equal to Badgie's rasping shot. Early in the second half, the Rapids forward outstripped the Toronto defence, only to get his angles wrong. One thing that couldn't be faulted, though, was Badgie's persistence. With 14 minutes left, he got a reward for his continued endeavours when Liam Fraser tripped him inside the Toronto area. Skelson Gashi marked his first league appearance since early October by scoring his first regular season goal for 11 months. It gave Anthony Hudson's team their second win of the campaign.
Johnny Russell, he split him, Russell is in! What a goal!
Sporting Kansas City are the early leaders in the West. Whilst at the foot of the conference sat the Seattle Sounders. It was top versus bottom at Children's Mercy Park. Your commentators, Adam Virgo and Dave Farrow.
Here's Shallowy, just gets around Torres. Shallowy to put it back. Shelton to somehow not put Sporting KC in front. It was casual, and he didn't pick his spot. There's Espinoza, now Russell. This is where he wants Nuhu, and he challenges him. Penalty, had to be surely.
Certainly cannot have any complaints. Referee was in a great position as well. Certain penalty.
Ilya Sanchez with a chance to give Sporting KC the lead. Fantastic penalty, confident, accurate, and they lead by a goal to nil, and they richly deserve it. In from Ladero, Torres was there and Bruin in behind him. Off the crossbar from Will Bruin, so close to Seattle's first of the season. That will give them hope. Marshall with the flick on. Bruin again! This time, he wouldn't be denied.
Well, they've needed to find a goal from somewhere, and this man here has worked tirelessly. He'll take anything at the moment, and certainly needed that going into half-time.
Here's Ladero. McCrary with the follow-up, appeals for a hand. The assistant raises his flag, and he's given the penalty. He's going to look at it. Home fans are happy.
Can't see how that's deliberate handball. So unfortunate for the fullback.
No penalty, overturned. Home fans delighted. Played it behind now to Bruin. Chance for him to cut inside. Instead, he rolls it for Christian Roldan. And Seattle in front. They've come from behind to lead. Christian Roldan with a sharp, sharp finish. Zusi in space as Nuhu's labouring to get back a bit. Graham Zusi trying to go all the way! The dribble from Zusi, who looked for an option inside. And Sporting KC draw level.
I just don't think we played to our level today. I'm not telling you like we were horrible, but I just think that we weren't on top of our game. We didn't bring our A game today, for sure.
Away at the Vancouver Whitecaps, Jordan Harvey made his first start for LAFC against the club he served so well across 7 seasons. An emotional return Alphonso Davies tried hard to spoil. But for the most part, the Whitecaps were the ones swimming against the tide. Carl Robinson a worried man as he watched Walker Zimmerman go close to an opener. Overall, LAFC racked up twice as many efforts on goal as their hosts. The first half frustrating for Bob Bradley's team. By his standards, Carlos Vela would have expected to make more of Stephen Batishaw's cross. Vancouver probably knew the Mexican was unlikely to let them off the hook too often, but they could do nothing about the flash of inspiration that broke the deadlock after the break. A terrific 4th goal of the season for Vela, leaving the Whitecaps' unbeaten home record that stretched back to August in serious jeopardy. If that strike was a thing of beauty, LAFC's next would score few points for artistic impression. Vela involved again, but it was a messy misunderstanding between keeper Stefan Marinovic and Kendall Waston that allowed Diego Rossi to seal LAFC's first victory in 3.
A little over a year ago, Chicago's Bastian Schweinsteiger and the LA Galaxy's Zlatan Ibrahimovic were teammates at Manchester United. They were reunited in front of a record MLS crowd at Toyota Park. It was Ibrahimovic's less heralded strike partner Ola Kamara who thought he'd given the Galaxy a 6-minute lead. Replays confirmed he was narrowly offside. The visitors found the net again less than 3 minutes later. This time, it was diverted into his own net by former Galaxy striker Alan Gordon. But he was given a reprieve when it was also ruled out. Kamara may not have got the final touch, but it was he who had strayed into an offside position. Ibrahimovic memorably scored twice on his debut in the LA derby. This effort, though, lacked the conviction to beat Richard Sanchez. But in the dying embers of the first half, the Swedish striker was decisive when meeting Ashley Cole's cross. 3 goals in 3 Galaxy appearances. Johan Kappelhoff, a regular in the Chicago side over the past 3 seasons, had never scored an MLS goal. Had it not been for David Bingham, that wait would have ended. And it was Bingham's further intervention which kept the Fire from restoring parity. Alexander Katai denied as Veljko Paunovic's side suffered their 3rd defeat of the season.
A welcome return to Providence Park for the Portland Timbers, yet to win after kicking off the season with 5 successive away games while improvements to the stadium were completed. And Alvis Powell certainly embraced the opportunity to get the Timbers season up and running. Minnesota United continued to find the fullback a handful. Inside 3 minutes, he was instrumental again, helping Diego Valeri increase the advantage. While it promised to be plain sailing at that point for the home side, Miguel Ibarra made them reconsider, even if Minnesota's joy was short-lived. The video review showed he'd made his run slightly too early, the effort ruled out. A warning, though, for Portland, whose response was a thunderous effort from Sebastian Blanco. An enthralling contest was proving well worth the wait for the fans at Providence Park. Ibarra unlucky when he was thwarted by Jake Gleason's brilliant save. The second half continued in a similar vein, with Darwin Quintero keen to make an impact on his MLS debut. By now, Adrian Heath must have been wondering how his team was still behind. Portland keeper Gleason had a lot to do with it, pulling off another fine stop from Christian Ramirez. The warning signs were all there for the Timbers, so there could be no complaints when Quintero gave his marker the slip to emphasise why the Loons have such high hopes for their newly signed Colombian international. Now the home side's lead looked far from comfortable. But when Blanco's cross was nodded down to Christian Paredes, Fernando Adi threw himself at the shot to get himself off the mark for the season and put Portland back in command. The Nigerian relieved to score that first goal of the campaign, his first from open play in more than 10 months. And soon he thought he had a second, set up by Valeri. But another video review, which this time worked in Minnesota's favour. Adi was a fraction offside. Ultimately, the only other name on the score sheet belonged to a man who'd have preferred not to be there. Bill Tuiloma's acrobatic own goal offered Minnesota late hope, but they departed this thriller empty-handed.
Another Western Conference meeting saw the San Jose Earthquakes play host to the Houston Dynamo. Since respective victories on the opening weekend of the season, neither had registered a win. Despite the lack of points, San Jose had not had any problems finding the net. And 26 minutes in, Magnus Eriksson scored for the second game in succession to give the Quakes the lead. They only had themselves to blame for squandering that advantage. Early in the second half, Jefferson Quintana firstly gave the ball away, only to then see it go in off his foot from Tomas Martinez's shot. San Jose felt they should have been awarded a penalty just 5 minutes later. During play, referee Nima Sagafi decided there was no foul by Adolfo Machado on Florian Jungwirth. And after a video review, he was satisfied with that conclusion. Almost immediately, Houston capitalised. Albert Elise raced away before crossing for Mauro Manotas to score his third goal of the season and put the Dynamo in front. With 7 minutes left, Elise had the chance to wrap up all 3 points, but was denied by excellent positional play by goalkeeper Andrew Tarbell. It was a missed opportunity that would later prove costly for Houston. With 5 minutes to go, Jumir Hika's deflected effort drew the Quakes level. And they almost won it in injury time. Quintana close to redeeming himself after his earlier error.
The Whitecaps' defeat cost them second place in the Western Conference, overtaken by the LA Galaxy. So leaders Sporting KC now have 2 clubs 4 points behind them. The Colorado Rapids rise into the top 6, but at the bottom the Seattle Sounders are now the only team in MLS yet to win this season.
NYCFC's draw in Atlanta keeps them 4 points clear of the 5 stripes at the top of the East. None of the top 4 won. DC United's victory over Columbus moves them off the bottom at the expense of MLS Cup holders Toronto.
It was a happy homecoming for the Timbers then, whose ever boisterous support spurred them on to a first win of the season.
Powell's crossed into deflection, it's fine!
The energy tonight from the fans gave us what we needed in order to fight all the way to the end and get the result that we needed.
This copyrighted telecast of Major League Soccer may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of Major League Soccer.